is dimensional analysis, which means we're just converting from one measurement to another. So you should have two sheets in front of you. And we're going to start with getting us a definition going. So dimensional analysis is a method used to convert. What does the word convert mean?
To change.
To change. Good. To convert from a given unit of measure. In other words, we'll say it in a second. To a different unit of measure. Using conversion fractions. All of that in a big old way, big words to say, we're going to take feet and convert them to miles. Or we're going to take miles and convert them to inches. We're going to take quarts or gallons and figure out how many quarts that would be. All right, so all of that just to say. Now, you have a second handout.
Did that say universal fractions?
It says conversion fractions. So in other words, the fraction is going to be set up. It's a special kind of fraction that will allow you to make the change from one unit to the next. So in this box, it's telling us what to do. So first, it says how many quarts are in 5 gallons? So what I'm asking, what are we looking for? Quarts or gallons?
Quarts.
We're looking for quarts. We are given, which one? 5 gallons. So this says, this is how we'll do each of the problems. Write down the given unit of measure. We are given 5 gallons. Put over 1 to make it a fraction. And keep your label. I didn't put in that, but keep your label. So, in other words, we're going to write 5 gallons. And I'm just going to do G-A-L. Oh, I can do O-N-S. And I'm going to put it over what?
1.
To make it a fraction. All right. Then it says set up the conversion fraction. Use more than 1 if necessary. Now, we're going from quarts to gallons, which that's an easy conversion. If we were going maybe ounces to gallons, we might have to convert ounces to cups, cups to quarts, quarts to gallons. So we may have to do several conversions in a row. It says also check out your cross out units. This allows you to check to see that you've set your conversion up correctly. So in other words, all that to say, we're going to do what kind of problem here? We're going to be multiplying, which means before you multiply, we always look to see if we can cancel out, right? So what we want to cancel out on this are the labels. We want gallons to go away, and we want to be left with quarts. So that means we want to be sure to put a gallon on the bottom. Do we know how many quarts are in 1 gallon?
4.
There are 4. Now, I gave you, with the help of Lee and your other classmates, a sheet that has conversions on it. You should have this as well. So, it tells you on there 1 gallon, it's the third one down. 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. So we're going to put 1 gallon on the bottom. And we're going to put 4 quarts on the top. Could you please kind of stop organizing and stay with us? Thank you. You've been working on that a long time. Please. So then we can cancel out our gallons. And we're left with 1 label of quarts. And then we do the math. So how many quarts will we end up with? 20 quarts. Because you just multiply numerator times numerator, and denominator times denominator. Did that make sense? Anybody not sure what we just did? Because we're going to jump to a more interesting and entertaining one. We're going to look at miles. 1 mile is how many inches? On our sheet for conversion, mile is at the top. What are we told? 1 mile equals...
5,280 feet.
All right, we could go miles to yards, but let's do miles to feet, and then we can do feet to inches. So let's look at how we're going to set it up. We need inches to be the last thing left, right? The last label left. So if we put 1 mile, and what are we going to put 1 mile over? Every time. 1 mile goes over what number so it's a fraction? 1. Then we know we want to be able to cancel out the mile. So the mile has to go in the denominator, right?
Yes.
And so 1 mile goes in the denominator. And Tinsley has already said we could go to feet. Well, how many feet are in 1 mile?
5,280.
5,280. And this is feet. All right, now we have our miles gone. Now we need what to go away?
Feet, so you put 1 foot on the bottom.
1 foot on the bottom. And we're trying to get to inches. So how many inches are in 1 foot?
12.
12. And if you don't know, it's on our sheet. So 12 inches. All right, now our feet are gone. And all we have left are inches. So then you have to do the math. What instrument would be helpful on this one?
Calculator.
Yep, it would. So if you got one, drag it out.
So 580 divided by 12.
What are we multiplying?
12 by 5,000.
the answer.
What'd you get, Tinsley?
63,360.
Yep.
63,360. Good, Mason.
Um,
5280, push the X button. 1, 2, hit equal. All right, this next one,
That's something else. Wait, never mind. I divided.
multiply. Anna, Christina.
Is this what we did in 8th grade science? Because I remember doing this.
Yes, you did.
yeah, we're going to do it.
All right, now look on the back of the sheet I gave you at the top. This one gets kind of fun. Kilometer. Kilometer is very similar to what we're used to talking about as a what? In what we measure.
Mile.
Miles. And a centimeter is similar to an inch. Maybe, you know, like it's we're getting big to little. So here we go. But look at the top where it says metric conversion. I don't see where a kilometer conversion works toward just directly to a centimeter. But do you see what we do have?
Kilo.
Well, the km is kilometer.
1 meter equals 100 centimeters.
So, wait, what now?
1 meter equals.
All right, we can find 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. Do we know anything, though, about meters and kilometers?
No.
Do you see a conversion for meters and kilometers?
1.
Anything about converting kilometers to meters?
No.
Yeah, 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters.
Yep. So here we go. We're going to start off with 23 kilometers over 1. I'm going to put km, always over 1. So we need kilometers to go on the bottom. And the only way I could find one up there would be to use the 1,000 meters. But how do we write this? What goes on top and what goes on bottom?
1 kilometer goes on the bottom and 1,000 meters on the
Yes. 1 kilometer goes on the bottom, 1,000 meters go on the top.
That says 1,000 kilos.
Mm-mm.
It said 1,000 meters.
Where? On my book?
No, on this. See, that says kilos.
is not where we are. We're right
I didn't know there was a back.
I instructed y'all to go to the back. Then, so we've got kilometers. Then how do we make the meter become a centimeter? Where do we put meters?
On the bottom.
On the bottom. Is it going to be 1 meter?
Yeah.
Yes. And what's going to go on the numerator?
100 centimeters.
100 centimeters. So, any number times 1 is what number?
Of the same.
That name. So, 23 times 1
23.
times 1.
23.
Okay. So, we've multiplied it by the 1 and the 1. So, we've got to 23. How many zeros are we going to put?
5.
Yes. So, 2,300,000.
Why did we put 5 zeros?
Well, when you multiply any number by 1,000, you'll put 3 zeros. And then when you multiply again by 100, you just add 2 more zeros.
Okay.
Like 2 times 100 is 200, so you're just taking that number and putting 2 zeros.
Okay.
Then, when we look at millimeters to meters, so we know we're going to put 400 millimeters over 1, and then we know we need millimeters on the bottom. But what can we use as the conversion for millimeters? We're trying to get all the way to meter. So what could we use for millimeters that's going to take us toward meter?
Inches? So
No, it's got to be metric to metric. The top, at the top on the back. Yes. So what would we put? How many millimeters?
1.
Mm-mm.
No?
So we're going from millimeter to meter, but we're going to have to go by the way of centimeter.
5.
So how many centimeters?
5.
No. Look on your sheet. What's the relation from centimeters to millimeters? You got to give me more than that.
1 centimeters, 10 millimeters.
1 centimeter on the top and to 10 millimeters on the bottom. And then we need centimeters on the bottom. Oops. Which means we then can go to meters on the top. And what's the relation of centimeters to meters?
1 centimeters, 10 millimeters.
To meters. How many centimeters for meters?
1.
We're going to meters, guys.
1 kilometer.
1 meter is how many centimeters? 100. So, do you see why we're putting things in the bottom, in the numerator versus the denominator? So you can cancel out your labels, and we're left with meters. But what's my answer?
4,000.
Mm-mm.
1.
Do the math.
400.
Well, that's 400 is in the numerator, and then look at the denominator.
That's
We have 1 times 10 times 100 in the denominator, and we have...
400 over 1,000. 400,000.
So how do I write this as a decimal? Mm-mm.
40?
Mm-mm.
Boyle, no.
So if I take 400 and divide it by, please close the door for just a second. If I take 400 and divide it by 10, what do I get?
40.
40. So we're going to move it back one place. And then if I take 40 and divide it by 100, how many places am I going?
2.
2.
So 0.4.
0.4. 4/10 of a meter. All right, we will start there. At this point, there's no homework. I have an activity we're going to do tomorrow.
Oh. Wait, we don't see it tomorrow.
Oh, Friday. Friday, sorry. I have an activity we're going to do Friday.